This story centers on some nuns with a certain craving. We'll see what that is as we go on. The film starts in Europe, during a plague that's causing all kinds of problems. Inside a church, Justin is working on a painting while talking about his past. He says his dad used to be a thief, and he stole with him. One day, his father got caught and lost both hands as punishment. Scared of the same thing happening to him, Justin quit stealing and became a painter. Outside, a young guy named Lorenzo is running from soldiers. He won a lot of money from a man named Gerbino in a gambling game. Instead of paying up, Gerbino wants his soldiers to catch Lorenzo. While running, Lorenzo climbs a wall, but two of Gerbino's guys catch him. To get away, Lorenzo kills them and takes off. Gerbino is mad when he finds out his men are dead. He orders more soldiers to bring Lorenzo back alive, by any means. Lorenzo finds a friend who gives him a horse, and he gets away. Back at the church, Justin has been painting for days, but he still hasn't been paid. He goes to the father to ask for his money, but finds him dead. Justin is broke and doesn't know what to do. Then he gets an idea. He'll take the father's place at the church, which means food and a place to stay. He grabs the father's robe and becomes the church's new priest. Princess Penelope's parents have passed, and she's crying in front of their portrait. Gerbino walks in and says he's sorry about her parents, but she shouldn't worry. He'll always be there for her. Penelope gets angry. She came to grieve, not to hear his offers. She tells him she doesn't need his help and to leave her alone. As she walks away, Gerbino says, "Wait, princess. Your father borrowed a lot of money from me, and he never paid it back. But he promised me your hand in marriage. To repay the debt, you have to marry me." Princess Penelope tells him that she's already supposed to marry Prince Alejandro of Russia in a week. Gerbino says he'll take care of Alejandro if she's worried. If she doesn't want to marry him, she has to pay the debt first and can't marry anyone until she does. He says her father must have thought about it before offering her to him. Penelope starts to believe him and agrees to the marriage. But Gerbino is lying about the debt. He just wants to marry the beautiful princess. Lorenzo has been riding for a while, but soldiers are still after him. He keeps pushing his horse. In a forest, he sees a guy carrying a dead body. Lorenzo asks for directions, and the guy says there's a village ahead with a convent. That's where he's coming from with the body. Lorenzo asks if he can hide at the convent. The guy realizes Lorenzo is in trouble and offers to help. He says the dead man was a gardener at the convent. If Lorenzo wants, he can get him the job, but Lorenzo has to do him a favor. Lorenzo agrees. The guy says he has to pretend to be deaf and mute to get the job. Lorenzo sees soldiers coming and rides off to avoid them. Once he's far enough away, he leaves his horse and climbs a tree, waiting for them to pass. The soldiers walk right under him. While Lorenzo is on a branch, it breaks, and he falls, gets hurt, and passes out. Later, some nuns find him and take him back to the convent. They lay him on a table and check him out. They've never seen a good-looking man before. They're admiring him when one says they should take his clothes off to check for injuries. They start undressing him, partly to check for wounds and partly to touch him. Lorenzo is awake, but he keeps pretending to be unconscious. Just as one nun is about to kiss him, their senior sister arrives. The two nuns quickly straighten up and tell her that the man is alive and might be deaf and mute. The senior sister asks Lorenzo if he can hear or speak. Lorenzo, already in trouble and wanting the job, nods, pretending to be unable to speak or hear. The senior sister is happy, thinking God sent this man to help them. She tells the other nuns to bathe and feed him, and then they'll talk more. The two nuns fill a big drum with water to wash him. They want a deaf-mute man for work so he can't tell anyone what they do. They start bathing him and they both fall for him. Meanwhile, Princess Penelope is stressed out by Gerbino. She calls her two friends to the church. Her friends, Alicia and Simona, show up with their boyfriends. The princess tells them that Gerbino is trying to force her into marriage because of her father's debt. Even though she's supposed to marry Prince Alejandro, The five of them are trying to get away from Gerbino when he walks in. He thinks the princess is plotting against him. Gerbino asks why everyone is at the church and tells them to leave. When they don't, Gerbino pulls out his sword to scare the boyfriends and orders them to take their girlfriends home. They get scared and are ready to leave. The princess is cornered and ready to give in to Gerbino when Justin, now pretending to be the church's father, yells down, saying that this is God's house and there shouldn't be any fighting. He tells everyone to leave. Gerbino and his men leave. After he's gone, Princess Penelope's friends start planning to get her away from Gerbino before the prince arrives. They decide to take her to another village where Gerbino can't find her. There, the prince can come and the wedding can happen. Before the prince arrives, Penelope will stay at a convent near the village. They decide to bring Father Justin with them. They plan to send Penelope to the convent a day early, and then the next day, the four of them and Father Justin will join her. The next day, they send Princess Penelope to the convent where some nuns are waiting. It's the same convent where Lorenzo is working, pretending to be deaf and mute. While Penelope is changing into a nun's outfit, she sees a man and asks who he is. The nuns tell her he's their gardener and that God sent him. They say he's a good man and can't hear or speak. Penelope feels sorry for him. Later, when Lorenzo is in the garden, one of the nuns takes him into a bush, where they start making love. Princess Penelope sees them and starts to feel something too. She wants Lorenzo. Meanwhile, Prince Alejandro of Russia arrives at the palace with his soldiers. He starts looking for the princess, but instead he finds Gerbino, thinking he's Penelope's father. Alejandro says he's the Prince of Russia and has brought gifts for him and the Queen Mother. He's come to marry Princess Penelope. Gerbino is annoyed and says, "You don't know who I am. I'm Penelope's future husband. You better pack up and leave." Alejandro stands his ground and says he came to marry the princess and he's going to take her. After leaving the palace, Alejandro meets one of Penelope's friends who gives him a gift. Inside is Penelope's address and a message that she's waiting for him. She's hiding in a convent nearby. Alejandro heads toward the princess. Two nuns come into Lorenzo's room with food. They tell him, using gestures, that God sent him for them, and they want him to make love to them like he did when he bathed with those other two. Lorenzo can hear, so he understands and nods. Princess Penelope's friends and Father Justin are on their way to meet her. The women are in one carriage and the boyfriends are following in another. When the women's carriage gets ahead, they signal for their boyfriends to come. The men follow them and the women lead them into a stable, saying they have cows there and they can milk them. If they don't know how, the women will teach them. As they start helping the men milk, they get close and start making love. Then Simona arrives and gets angry. She yells at them and takes them back. At the convent, Lorenzo is getting a lot of attention. Two nuns come to wash him, and Princess Penelope is there too. Seeing Lorenzo like that bothers her. She's starting to fall in love with him. Once Lorenzo is done washing, he's sent to the senior nun's room, but Penelope sees him and knows what's going on between the nuns and this mute man. She's starting to like Lorenzo too. The next day, Penelope is in the garden while Lorenzo works. Lorenzo has never seen such a beautiful nun. After work, he goes to his room and starts humming. When Penelope brings him food, she hears him. She realizes Lorenzo isn't deaf or mute. He's faking it. Lorenzo tries to do the same thing with Penelope that he did with the other nuns, but she won't let him take off her veil. Instead, she blindfolds him and says, "I've been watching you, and I'm starting to fall in love with you, but I'm not like those nuns. I'm different." She kisses Lorenzo and leaves. Lorenzo feels like her kiss is something special. Meanwhile, the boyfriend from the earlier milking scene is mad at his girlfriend. She keeps looking at him, and she takes him into the forest. They sit together and start making love, but his coffee melts from the heat. Penelope's friends are resting along the way. Justin tells them, "I'll go through the forest on foot. You take the carriage to the convent. I'll meet you there." Justin goes into the forest heading for the convent. At the same time, the prince is going toward the convent through the same forest, but Zerbino's soldiers attack him with arrows. The prince runs away. He's thirsty and looks for water. He finds a pond where one of Princess Penelope's friends, Alicia, is bathing. While drinking, the prince sees her and asks who she is. Alicia says, "I'm a bride waiting for my groom." The prince says, "I've come to marry Princess Penelope. I've never seen her, but I love her and will only marry her." Alicia lies and says, "I'm Penelope and I've been waiting for you." She gets close to him and the prince starts making love to her. Back at the convent, Princess Penelope has been there for a week, and it's time for her to leave for a palace where she'll marry the prince. Before she leaves, she tells the Mother Superior the truth about Lorenzo. She says, "Yesterday, when I was near Lorenzo's house, he was singing. He's not deaf or mute." The senior nun gets worried, thinking he'll tell everyone their secrets. She goes to Lorenzo, whispers something in his ear, and Lorenzo jumps up and yells, "It's a miracle. I can speak now." But the senior nun knows he's been lying. She has Lorenzo kicked out of the convent. Lorenzo is outside when Princess Penelope's carriage arrives. Penelope had planned for him to be kicked out so she could take him with her. Seeing her, Lorenzo says, "Please help me and take me with you." Penelope takes Lorenzo with her to the palace. When they get there, Lorenzo is about to leave, but Penelope stops him, using the wedding as an excuse. She says he can stay until the wedding, but no one else has arrived yet. Penelope and Lorenzo start talking. Penelope asks if he's ever been married. Lorenzo says, "I'll only marry the woman I love." The princess asks who that is. Lorenzo says, "There's a nun at the convent. I never saw her face, but she kissed me and I fell in love with her. I'll only marry that nun." Penelope is happy because she knows she's the one who kissed him. While they're talking, they go into the garden. Penelope asks, "If you've never seen that nun, how will you find her?" But Lorenzo is sure he'll meet her someday. To make him realize the truth, Penelope gets closer and says, "Close your eyes and kiss me." When Lorenzo closes his eyes, Zerbino arrives. Seeing him, Princess Penelope is scared and tells Lorenzo to run because Zerbino is dangerous. But Lorenzo isn't scared of Zerbino. They've met before. When Lorenzo tries to fight him, Zerbino overpowers him. The princess knows that Zerbino will kill him, so she steps in front and says, "If you kill him, I won't marry you." Lorenzo is shocked. He asks the princess, "Will you marry this old man? Is this your prince?" The princess can't say anything. She can't save Lorenzo from Zerbino. Zerbino takes him. The next day, Zerbino tells Penelope that he wants to marry her, but Penelope says, "If you want to marry me, you have to let Lorenzo go." Zerbino says no. Penelope says, "If you don't let Lorenzo go, I'll jump into this well and die." This makes Zerbino agree. He lets Lorenzo go. The next day, Justin is supposed to do the wedding between Penelope and the prince. But when Penelope meets Justin, she says, "I love Lorenzo and will only marry him." She gives Father Justin some money and asks him to delay the wedding because she thinks Lorenzo will come to save her and the prince will arrive too. After Lorenzo is freed, Zerbino's men are taking him through the forest, planning to kill him. But Lorenzo fights them and knocks them out. At that moment, the prince arrives on horseback and asks Lorenzo where the princess's palace is. Lorenzo gives him directions. Zerbino is marrying Princess Penelope with Father Justin. Zerbing is delaying the event. Father Justin tells Zerbino, "Go wash your face. It's dirty. I can't do the wedding like this." When Zerbino comes back, the father says something that makes him mad and Zerbino puts a sword to the father's head. Just then the prince arrives, followed by Lorenzo. The prince thinks, "This man is trying to force my future wife into marriage." He attacks Zerbino and he and Lorenzo fight Zerbino's men. Zerbino tries to run away, but Lorenzo stops him and they fight. They end up near the well, where Zerbino falls in, freeing everyone from him. The princess tells the prince, "I can't marry you." The prince is sad. When the princess takes off her scarf, the prince says, "You're not my princess. My princess is the one I met at the pond. Where is she?" Then the fake princess arrives. The prince is happy. He's found his bride. Lorenzo starts to leave. The princess stops him and asks where he's going. Lorenzo says, "I'm going to find that girl who kissed me." The princess tells him to close his eyes and kisses him. Lorenzo knows she's the same girl he fell in love with. Then everyone starts kissing their wives, and the movie ends.